Okay, let's see. It is, well, I got to tell you everything because I don't have the text at the top. I'm using OBS 29.1.3 right now. If you are, and there are many of you out there, if you are a somebody who knows something about OBS, feel free to tell me what I can do to improve this setup. So, my name's Jim Howard. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is, let's see, November 31st. No, October 30th. Let's see, January, February, March. It's October 31st, 2023. I have two cameras hooked up, but right now I'm just using the Avery Media, and it's right next to my $200 Dell refurbished computer. It's right there at arm's length, actually 3 or 4 inches beyond that. As you can see, I've got two monitors going. They're both LG monitors, and I both have them in 1080p mode. Let's see, what did I want to talk about? Verizon is working better for me. I mentioned that, so I in past videos. Right now, I'm set up. Finally, I think I can log. I'm afraid to try it. I think I can log in without being told about 10 or 15 or 20 times that. Okay, enter your information. Sorry, you're not. Well, I forget what it says. Not correct or whatever. You have to sign up again. And I've signed up like 10 times, with it, and then finally got accepted. I don't remember having a complaint here on my site about Verizon. In fact, haven't had a lot of people talk, but had some people have said, "Oh, I love Verizon. I just plugged it in." And of course, that's what's worked with me too, so far as the box. I've signed up once, which did not work out. I'd been signed up by these new people for Verizon, and this area was not authorized. They signed me up anyway, and so I sent the box back. That's a problem. Well, I haven't heard, so maybe they finally. But it's not very long ago that I got a thing from Verizon saying that I had not returned the box. And I forget what they were going to charge me, $300 or something like that, and turn it over to a collection agency or something. But when I sent the box back, which was almost immediately, I am the next gave the UPS would charge $10 to come, and I at that point I was so pissed with the whole thing. I didn't want to pay $10 of my money for. So they also had a thing where you could, any UPS driver you saw, you just give the thing to them, because they sent me the label to print out and everything. So you could just give it to, and that's what happened. We gave it to the driver, and next day, and the depot or warehouse or whatever they have, I'd kind of like to see what it looks like. Would there be miles of Verizon boxes sitting there? The next day, I got a email from the warehouse thing or whatever saying, "Thank you very much, blah blah blah. And if you want to, of course, a standard thing. If you want the service again, please, you're an excellent customer. A form letter, of course, I mean, it's not like, Dear Jim, Um, so then, I don't know how long ago it is, 2 weeks? Some people came here and signed me up for Verizon. Oh, no, they're back. Okay, back to the thing with the first Verizon unit. Right away, the warehouse, when I returned it, sent me, that email. And then a few days later, or a week later or something, I got an email from Verizon headquarters or wherever that is. They might have multiple locations, saying, "Oh, Jim, we're very sorry that things did not," a form letter, of course, email. Very sorry things didn't work out for you, and you're a good customer. Of course, they don't know that I'm a good customer, and you know, please come back. You're welcome, and we've got some, deals for you, and thank you very much. So I'm hoping that other thing has been taken care of. But I went through my emails that I got from them and printed them out and everything, so I would have them if I needed proof, because it had the number and the date and the time and all that kind of stuff. So let's see. Wait a minute if I can. Okay, I can pause this. I hear my ex-wife hollering at, I think, our grown son, 47-year-old grown son. So let me see if I can maybe put my little sign on my door that says recording in progress. Maybe that'll help. Hang on a bit. Okay, Darlene, my ex-wife, was hollering at our grown son to tell him that Drew Carey was on The Price is Right, or whatever the name of that show is called, in a Halloween costume or something. Is today Halloween? I don't even know. So, okay, I think I covered. Anyway, it looks like I'm getting 300 down and 20 up. And I'm not going to go. I don't want to carry on too much about. I'm just hoping everything gets all squared away with Verizon. I'm not using any of when the first box that they sent, when they sent it, and it took like less than 15 minutes to hook it up and get it going. Unfortunately, it disconnected every few hours for like 7 minutes and then reconnected. Something was, well, we weren't actually in their area. Okay, I got sidetracked. So, like I said, I'm using OBS right now. Let me repeat again. If you, well, right now you don't see the screen. You're not seeing the screen, my OBS screen. I think if I drag it over to this monitor, let me minimize this, which you don't see. No, so that means, yeah. No, you do see that. I see. Okay. Let me minimize this and drag over. Okay, now I forgot what I was going to drag over. Oh, drag this over. Oh, okay. Jim, you are a genius. Oh, what a genius you are. There it is. So those are the settings that I have. So if you're now I've set this up before. I mean, I've done, I've run both of these on OBS and a large picture filling in the entire screen of this one, and I've done all this stuff. But I'm sure what I haven't done with OBS is, like text at the top, date and time, uh, stuff like that, or maybe something down at the bottom. Please subscribe or what, that type of stuff. But other stuff. You're an OBS person and you want to give me some tips, I will take them. Let me go back over here. So now this is out of the range, but I can click back on this and this comes up. There we go. So OBS, well, let's take a look at Howard's notebook. No, we want to take a look at yeah, but different view, this view. By the way, I see that I got not me personally, I mean, we all, doesn't really matter to my setup, but now on YouTube, the person who has a YouTube site can give, which I don't, there may be a reason for it for some reason, I can't think of what it would be. I mean, like a perk or something, but why? If you are a member, if you've paid a membership fee on the YouTube site, then a perk that they can give you is they can allow you access right away to YouTube videos where somebody else has to wait a while or something like that. But I'm sure people can figure out some way to make it beneficial, but I've mentioned this before, and I think it's a fairly new thing, and that's it. They have this these three things, which I don't think were, I don't know, maybe they were. So when you come to the site, you see this or something like this, but then if you can also click here and get a list of all the videos, or you could go to live mode and stuff like that. And now if I made this bigger, it would actually look better, which that is what it would be doing on your, on your screen, hopefully. This helped a friend of mine who wanted to know. He asked me, if there was a way to get to this that's now, available, where he could just go and see the very latest ones, that he'd missed or something or other that way. So I'm sure people will use that. Something I have not done yet is I need to get my cell phone synced so that I can go outside. Well, it doesn't have to be outside, but go someplace and with my cell phone send the video immediately to YouTube and have it, Now, I did when I was in the hospital with my cell phone a couple times with a catheter in me. God, oh, damn, wow. Catheters hurt. And I knew that I was going to, that one day I would have the pleasure of having a catheter inserted in me. I knew because I worked hospital security for 30 years, and I don't know how many times that the person who was getting the catheter in, the guy who was getting the catheter in him, was something like somebody who came in and did a attempted suicide, or he had a girlfriend and she was breaking up with him or something, so he took a whole bunch of let's see, it wasn't aspirin. What was it? Was it naproxen? Whatever it is, no, Tylenol, that's it. Hospitals, doctors, they all recommend, Tylenol for pain and whatever. And I don't know how many of those guys took, it was handy. They had it there, so they just took a whole bunch of Tylenol. And that's not good, because it destroys your liver, I think it is. Is it your liver or your kidneys? I think it's your liver. And you die. And so yeah, the person would come in, the guy would come in, and then the girlfriend who had told him she was breaking up, or she wouldn't go to a prom with him or something, she would show up. Now, I would look at him, and of course this is probably prejudicial on my part. I'd look at this guy and think, what a loser, And then some beautiful looking girl would show up, and I'd think, my God. And she'd, oh, honey, honey, honey. And sometimes the nurse or somebody would say, now, if we dismiss him now, he needs somebody to stay with him, and check on him overnight and everything. And, oh, honey, she'd say, I'll do that. And he smiles, And then the lab work comes back. Well, they'd have known, if that was, because he would have probably said that he took Tylenol. So, okay, change my scenario a little bit, but you get the idea that the family would be there, and then they'd come in and, well, what happened, and with the permission of the patient, unless he's a juvenile or something. Well, he took Tylenol. Oh, okay, well, we'll be taking him home, or, I'm not talking about a kid here. I'm talking about a guy, a grown man. And anyway, those are the ones who would be, okay, now we need, the doctor, the nurses, okay, now you need to, take this pill or whatever. And, fuck you, I'm not taking it, and whatever. Well, if you don't take it, we have to put a tube down into your stomach or whatever. No, you're not doing that, or a lot of times what they do is, oh yeah, I'll take your pill. Then he wouldn't take the pill. You'd have to swallow it or something, Maybe it was a fluid, I forget, can't remember. Don't want to remember. And anyway, family would say, well, when he goes home, and then the lab result would come back showing how much Tylenol the person had injected. And death sentence. I mean, it's going to destroy, what is it? I forget now after all these years. The last time I worked hospital security was 2000. Well, no, okay. Then I went down to Florida and ended up working for the first time, for a for-profit hospital. Uh, and that was horrible. I'd worked 30 years, hospital security, different hospitals. They were all the hospitals were professional. We were members of the staff. I mean, and then I was in charge of this. So it was a contract down there, yeah. I didn't intend to work. I'd retired. But then got down there and I thought, well, why not, I went and I told them at the guard company, whatever, hey, I filled everything out. And I said, I'm just looking for something sitting inside a front lobby of some place, checking people in and out, and something like that, walking through the building and checking the alarms and a few things like that. That's all. I'm whatever. And they said, okay. And then I heard the two guys, over at another desk, oh, wow, look at this, hospital security. And I thought, this isn't good. And then the guy came over and he said, well, we've got this contract and I said, for a hospital, we want you to be in charge of, of it there. And I said, no way, no, and everything. And then they kept begging. And then they said, well, for a contract guard agency, the pay is, low. Well, it depends. If you're working for, what's the one? Can't remember. I actually never worked for them. But then they, okay, well, you'd be getting such and such an hour, where the other guys were getting a couple dollars less an hour, whatever. And so I took it, and that was a mistake. I wish I hadn't done that. And then when the lieutenant or whatever was driving me over to the hospital to show it to me and to introduce me to the hospital management or whatever, before he opened up my thing, and he said, wow, I've never seen this before. Not ever. Wow. And I thought, what hasn't he seen, Well, I knew he probably hadn't seen somebody that had 30 years of what am I doing here? This doesn't look good. That's not what I want to do right now. Maybe I can minimize this. No, I should make my screen bigger. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, back to my story that I got interrupted from. How dare you interrupt me? Anyway, this lieutenant says, I've never seen this before. And he says, I said, what? And he said, well, there's no arrest, no blah, 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 no blah, 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 no tickets, nothing. And I thought, what kind of people are you hiring? And then he said, we really need you, and everything. He says, because, and actually he was saying it wasn't, and I believe him, I guess. He said, well, at this hospital that, you're going to be in charge of the guys there. Then he told me things that had happened. That one security, not for this company, but because the company would change, the hospital would change companies when these things happen. Well, UPS delivered, I don't know, let's make it 25 laptop computers to the hospital. And they were stored in plant operations, and there was a little booth where security had a little desk in there and the keys and that kind of stuff. And so on camera, the guy didn't know there was a camera in there. And the security guard didn't know there was a camera in there, and he was stuffing his pockets. I guess he wasn't stuffing his pocket with laptop computers, but he took a bunch of laptop computers home. I guess he took them one at a time out to his car or something. And so the next day when he came to work, the police were there and arrested him. Then there was the case of I got to put something on the screen here. Let me go where. Let's go to. Then there was. Oh, okay, here we go, I guess. And there was the hospital security officer who was at 3 a.m. in the morning. Maybe it was 4 or 5 a.m. But it was like the middle of the night. I thought. Anyway, so the security officer is fucking a female. A male security officer is fucking a female hospital employee in the closet that's bigger than a closet, in a meeting room. And the hospital administrator came by. It was like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. And I thought, why would a hospital administrator or an assistant administrator or anybody show up to make sure that a room was ready for a meeting? You're the hospital administrator and you show up at 4 a.m. in the morning, Anyway, the guy shows up, hospital administrator. He hears a noise. I wonder what noise he heard. Anybody want to make that noise now for us? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, deeper, deeper. I don't know what they'd be saying. Anyway, I don't want to know. And so the hospital administrator opened up the door, and there was a security officer, contract security officer, and a lady. And the security officer, said, who in the hell are you and what are you doing here? And the hospital administrator says, well, I'm the hospital administrator. And what in the hell were you doing? And I'm not sure what the security officer response was, but we live right near what used to be Carswell SAC, Air Force Base. It's now a reserve air base, not reserve. I mean, it's, for use reserve units. So the hospital administrator said, you're fired, and took his ID off, off of and said, you're fired. Actually, now, of course, that's understandable, but actually he couldn't fire him because the guy was as soon as they, as he got back to the office or whatever happened, they would send the contract guard agency would send him out to some other location. Hopefully not another hospital, but how did I get on that subject? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry that I went to work. It was, that guy, the lieutenant, after he looked at my paperwork and said, wow, I've never seen that before. So then he drove me over, and then he's telling me these stories, and he says, oh, you're going to be so useful because you'll be able to correct all these, these bad things that have happened and improve. And I said, no, never. It won't happen. I can't change any of those things. All those employees there at the hospital, they all know the story, and they'll be bringing it up to me, and that's exactly what happened. And that was the worst hospital I'd ever worked at. And there's even, I think there was a movie made about that hospital. Maybe it wasn't a movie, maybe it was on 60 Minutes or something like that. Some type of a thing at that hospital. That's where a car accident and 2 young girls come into the hospital. And one is dead or dies immediately or something like that. and then the other one is in the intensive care unit and goes to surgery and is in the intensive care unit. And of course, they told the family of the one girl, that their daughter had, died, and the family went home, made arrangements for the funeral, and the other, the family that the other girl was, in the intensive care unit, they, told the other family how sorry they were, and the family who had lost their daughter, told this family, we hope your daughter is okay, hope she gets better and everything like that. Yeah, I think you know what the story. So, weeks later, after the one girl had been buried, and I guess the swelling and stuff goes down on the girl there at the hospital and a few other things. I can't imagine, And then the family, actually, I don't think that the family, I think it had to, for some reason, I don't think the family said, wait a minute, you're not Mary, whatever. But anyway, that's what happened. And so that's that hospital. And I can understand exactly how that would happen, because when I was there, everything I saw was like, at that point I was a contract security guard, I wasn't an in-house security officer hired by the hospital and trained by the hospital and all that kind of stuff. Everything I saw at that hospital that they did was, wrong. And I tried to tell them, like, on one small thing, I thought, well, maybe I could help them with, and I told the secretary for the plant operations people, because that's sort of where security fit under, And she must have been a kindergarten teacher or something or other, because when I said, the lost and found situation here isn't good. I said, it's really needs to be changed. And she said, and I can't do it in like a picture when you were a kindergartner or something, maybe or maybe a first grade or second grade, way a kind of an elderly lady would talk to you. Now, honey, of course this lady didn't say honey. Now, honey, this has been approved by the Joint Commission. Our plan has been, and I said it's not a good plan, and I'm sure the Joint Commission didn't. They, they check hospitals every 2 or 3 years. They send out 3 or 4 or 5 people to all the hospitals, and I said there's no way they would approve this. And now, honey, she didn't say honey, And I thought this is, And then just before, finally, when I made up my mind, I had to get out of there, that hospital. Yeah, it was. Oh, I could tell you some stories of, well, the easiest and simplest one. I saw, the hospital that I worked at for 18 years. They got they were second to get the helicopter, life flight helicopter. Actually, it wasn't called life flight. That was a problem. The other one was hospital was called life flight, and our hospital was called the Eagle. But so anyway, these people, they had a helicopter pad, not in a good location. I saw it over there, Never saw a helicopter come in, I don't think, there. But so then I saw preparations being made, there at the hospital. And of course, I was working out at the plant operations office, Oh, the policy too, because of the guy fucking, that kind of stuff was. Well, in the beginning, I guess, when they first got security there, I guess they had, a security officer outside and 2 inside or whatever. And then after the security officers fucked up, then it was a security officer outside and a security officer inside. And then after fuck-ups by the security, it was the security officer will stay outside in the parking lot unless we need him, and then we will call him to come in. Now, you could go in and get a new battery for your radio, or you could go in for lunch, or you could go in to use the restroom, but they wanted you outside. And that doesn't work. I could explain how it doesn't work. I saw how it didn't work there, you know. Oh, but anyway, how long have I been talking? Because this really wasn't intended to be this at all. In fact, I stopped working hospital security at the beginning of 2001, and for a while I made YouTube videos, but then at this point, this has been 23 years, so I stopped a long time ago talking about hospital security, or trying to make videos for hospital security officers that might help them, because now they're probably using probably the security officers are using helicopters, if not drones and everything else to so I'm outdated. Yeah, that one hospital alone, which was a for-profit hospital. Now, I had to go through orientation down there for 3 days or 4 days, even though I was not, directly an employee. I was a contract employee. So I'm in there with the respiratory therapy person that's newly hired in, and the X-ray tech, and all these people. I'm in there too, And then, they had to spend 1 day, was required by the federal government, because this hospital had fucked up so many times so they were required to spend 1 day telling us how bad their hospital had done and the mistakes their hospital had made, and if any of us saw this happening or that happening or this happening or that happening, that we were to report that to the federal government. And if it was a financial thing, which it was, let me get this in, because I'm a liberal Democrat, and I've been a liberal Democrat my entire life. And yes, I do live in Texas. I don't know how I ended up down here. God help me. But the corporation that owned the healthcare, all these hospitals, and were stealing money from the American people, and they got caught. Now, none of the executives none of them went to jail. None of them, and like the head of the corporation, and whose father started the whole thing, and they didn't go to jail, or he didn't go to jail, but he did retire with a lifelong pension and a lot of money and stock and that kind of stuff. And then he went to Florida, where he opened a bunch of, I'm not sure if he opened them or if he bought them, a whole bunch of labs, medical labs all over the state. And then he became the Republican governor of the state of Florida. And then one of the acts that he had passed was that every person who was on Medicaid or Medicare or something like that, who was getting assistance from the government, was probably a drug user, and would therefore have to take a drug test, which would be administered by labs, his labs. You know? I mean, it didn't have to be his lab. If somebody else had a lab, but he had most of the labs all signed up, you know. That people would, when the doctor says you need your lab work done, and send you there, you know. And so they had to, they had to have, it was required that they have their lab work done. How many millions of dollars that brought in for him, I just can't even imagine. But what happened is, very few people who were on Medicaid or Medicare or whatever the type of assistance, you know, for medical care, very few of them, you know, fewer than whatever the, if you took, you know, a group of people, you know, and tested them, how many of them would be, you know, taking some drugs or something or other. And these people who were on Medicare and Medicaid and that type of thing, who had to have the test done, the percentage of them was much lower than regular people you just took off the street, you know, working people, you know. And so the Republican governor, I don't know if he's still, no, he's not the governor now because we've heard of that guy's name, you know. So, anyway. I'm sorry I started this, but I'm going to go ahead and upload it. Sometime I should tell you about that hospital down there. The things that I saw. That one thing of how terrible. And of course, well, I've never known that to ever happen at any other hospital. In fact, I guess they wouldn't have made a movie out of it if it had, you know. But the other stuff that went on, one thing that, well, a whole bunch, everything down there pissed me off. So as soon as I could, I told the company, I'm not working, I'm not being in charge, you know, not being in charge of those people. I'm not working at that hospital. Don't send me at the, you know, of course they did. They put me other places, you know, sent me to hotels and motels and that kind of stuff. And they called me a few times, Jim, we really need you. And I said, nope, no way am I going there. Oh, I was talking about something, a helicopter, that was it. Okay, the hospital in Kansas City that I worked for, we were in-house security. And so, you know, security, when a helicopter took off or landed, a security officer had to be out there for a number of reasons. I had no need for me to go into all the reasons that they had to be there. A security officer had to be there. It had to do with life and safety and everything else. But so anyway, I'm down at this hospital in Florida, and I see some construction. That, you know, they didn't tell me anything, and you know, so I can see. I thought, oh, okay, they're putting in a new helicopter landing pad. I guess that one's too far over there for them. So anyway, one of the guys who was a plant operations guy, you know, he was all right. Generally, they weren't all right because all these people had heard the stories about the other security officers, and they told them to me. And anyway, I said, looks like you're putting a new helicopter pad. Yeah, I said, so I see you put signs up here for the park, where you have parking, signs up on these different poles saying, if you park here, your car may be damaged. So just be aware of it, and we're not responsible. And he says, yeah, because... and I said, now that's because the helicopter is going to come in and land where you're putting these red lights up and stuff. Yeah. And I said, what about when they come in this way? Oh, no. we put the lights up so that they could come in and land, land that way. And I said, you do know that the helicopters land depending on how the wind is blowing, the direction it's coming from, and that type of stuff. And he, what? And I said, they land according to, And but he was pretty, maybe he was in the military or something, because he did come up with a pretty good, I mean, it wasn't correct, but he came up with something. He said, well, these guys that are mostly, they're ex-Vietnam veterans and pilots, and I said, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, fine, So, anyway, end of story. I'm sorry for that. Well, probably you stopped listening. Surely, hey, are you guys not smart? Anyway, thank you for watching and listening. Hey, that'd be a good thing. You just turn the volume down.